Hi, welcome to James Miller Lifeology, where you learn to simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. My name is James Miller. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and a composer. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Let's get started. If you're anything like me, your health is very important to you. I know you listen to the show for tips to simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. Well, I have some great news for you. James Miller Lifeology has partnered with BioOptimizers Nutrition. As an avid nutrition and exercise enthusiast, I thought I knew a lot. But after taking the 12-week health course BioOptimizers offers and implementing their supplements, I noticed a huge difference in my energy and my digestive tract. Since you're a listener of Lifeology Radio, BioOptimizers is offering you the same 12-week course absolutely free. Go to jamesmillerlifeology.com/supplements to take this free course. Here is a sample of what you'd learn. How to get 70% more energy in 30 seconds or less. The ultimate key to high performance, health, and longevity. How to turn the tide against uncontrollable food cravings. How to select the most powerful supplements for you. How to stay lean and trim without sacrifice. The simplest and fastest way to detoxification and great skin. And much, much more. To get access to this awesome health course, simply go to jamesmillerlifeology.com/supplements and sign up today. Once again, visit jamesmillerlifeology.com/supplements or simply go to jamesmillerlifeology.com. I have a great show for you today. I'm going to help you stay focused in conversations. I'll also be interviewing author and licensed psychotherapist Jonathan Robinson, who reviews his latest book, More Love, Less Conflict, a communication playbook for couples. This book is a game changer. It will help you effectively communicate and create more intimacy in your relationship. For more information about Jonathan, please visit findinghappiness.com. You may also purchase this book on Amazon or in the store at jamesmillerlifeology.com. I have some exciting news. Did you know that I'm on the radio 3 times a week? You may hear me on the same station on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m., Fridays at 9:30 a.m., and Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. You may also hear me anytime on iHeartRadio as well as on all the other major podcasting platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and many others. Simply search for the show name, James Miller Lifeology. Are you struggling today to find your purpose? Has mediocrity set in and you can't imagine doing the same thing for the rest of your life? Are your relationships struggling or you aren't sure how to make long-lasting changes in your life? Then today, contact me, James Miller. I will help you recognize the areas in your life that are going really well, and then we'll look at the areas in which you are struggling. We will create actionable solutions to help you create long-lasting changes in your life. You don't have to do this alone. Go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, and click on the page Work with James. Fill out the form, and it will be sent directly to me. Don't let another day go by without finding your way. Your change can start today. Once again, go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, and click on the page Work with James. Fill out that form to get started today. Staying focused in conversations. Every time we interact with someone, it's important for us to realize what is your end result. In other words, what's your objective? A lot of times we can get into debate with people and we forget that it's a healthy discussion as opposed to an argument. As you debate with that person, you want to prove more and more that you're right, that your information is correct and the other person's is wrong. And as that exchange continues to evolve, unfortunately, both parties have lost sight of what the original goal was. And as you prove your point, all of a sudden there is negativity between the two of you, and often a rift is created. I really want us to focus on what do we want to accomplish every day. Every time we interact with someone, what's our goal? What's our mission for that day? The majority of us want to leave a situation better. Or in other words, we want to enhance it. We want people to feel good about themselves. We want them to be excited about their life. So if that's our usual objective, we have to make sure that every time we start to have a quote negative discussion with someone, that we're mindful that we want to salvage that friendship or that relationship, that our objective is not to prove our point. Our objective is to maintain that level of love, of trust, of intimacy. If you find that you have discussions with people and you feel all of a sudden a spike of anger or a spike of frustration, it's probably an indication that your focus may be off and you're starting to prove a point which may go against your objective of wanting to maintain a healthy friendship or relationship. Now, there's nothing wrong with proving your point, but we want to make sure it's done in an assertive, effective way, as opposed to a reactive or emotional way. If you find that you typically have an argument with somebody, how do you prepare for that? If you know you're going to see a certain person at work, how do you prepare for the exchange so that you don't have an argument or that you don't feel like you have to prove your point? Yes, there are those people who can get under our skin, and it's so easy to lose our focus and perspective and prove our point. But once again, if that goes against your personal integrity or just your personality overall, you have to stay true to what your main objective is. And that is to enhance all situations you're in. Sometimes we have to practice self-talk. In other words, what do we tell ourselves over and over again when we want to prove our point? When you can create that buffer within yourself, it helps you not become reactive and not have to prove your point. So sometimes we have to be our own cheerleader and to remind ourselves that we don't have to get the last word. So if you find that you continually struggle with this, practice beforehand how to calm yourself down with your personal self-talk, and that will be a good start for you to maintain your focus. You're going to hear an amazing interview today with Jonathan Robinson. He has this fantastic book that I definitely want you to purchase. He has 30 techniques that are going to help you in any relationship you have to maintain that objective that you have. I'm really excited for you to hear this. Definitely pay attention to his techniques, and be sure today, when you interact with the people around you, that your focus is to enhance your world, not destroy it. Did you know I have a YouTube channel? That's actually how Lifeology started. I have well over 155 episodes that I've created specifically for you. I do know that many people struggle with listening to a full 30-minute show. So these episodes are about 3 minutes long. Each episode will give you a practical tool or technique that you can practice daily to help you simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. Simply go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, or go to YouTube and search for my name, James Miller Lifeology. Jonathan Robinson is a psychotherapist, a best-selling author of 12 books, and he has been a frequent guest on Oprah and CNN. In addition, his work has been featured in USA Today and Newsweek magazine. He recently wrote a book called More Love, Less Conflict, a communication playbook for couples. He's here with us today to talk all about things related to relationships, communication, and how to create more love and less conflict in your life. Welcome to my show, Jonathan.
Thanks, James. It's really exciting to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited as well. It was interesting. I was looking at who was on deck today for all of my interviews, and I have a lot of psychotherapists. So this is great for me to be able to talk shop with a lot of individuals.
Great.
How did you know that you wanted to go into the niche, or in other words, your specialty for communication in relationships?
Well, when I was a teenager, I was so shy that I really couldn't talk at all.
Oh, really?
And my parents were thinking of putting me in a mental hospital because I literally stopped talking. And I read some self-help books that helped me to get over those fears. And as I got better and better, my life got better and better. And I realized that communication is really the key to love, but it's also a very important factor in how much money you make. It's a factor in how good your marriage goes. So I really started to study it. And since I had no initial talent in it, I had to learn every step of the way. And that made me a better teacher for teaching it.
Isn't that interesting how those things which appeared to be a stumbling block became a stepping stone? You perhaps didn't know what you wanted to do with your life, but the more you study, the more you practice, and now you're an expert in this. And I just love those types of origin stories.
Yeah, and with Oprah it was the same way. She was, very abused. She couldn't talk very well, and now she's the most loved person on earth. Yeah. So sometimes your wound ends up being your major healing.
Yes, it certainly does. That's a really great takeaway. Well, one of the things we all think we communicate, and yes, we do communicate, but there's a difference between effective communication and ineffective communication. Could you give us a little bit of your understanding of what that is?
Well, in this culture, we learn the complain, then blame, then shame our partner method of communication. And I don't know about you, James, but when I complain and blame my wife, she never says, "Oh, thank you so much for showing me the errors of my ways. I now will have to change totally based on this new information." It's never happened like that.
That's quite funny. It's interesting, though, because you're right. That's what we're taught, and yet we do it over and over again, and it never works.
Yeah, I'm batting 0 for 1,000 on that one. But that's what we learn, and most people don't realize that there's really incredibly effective methods for communication that help you to get what you want, help you to actually get your partner to change, and most important, help you to get the love and deep connections that we all really are yearning for.
Yes, and I think that's the thing. Many times what we say and what we communicate is so different from the foundational piece of what we need, just like you said, of course. For example, anger. There's actually 5 different payoffs of anger. But people, when they see it, they think the person's angry, but it's really not. If it's either they're feeling rejected or they're trying to relieve stress, there's so many ways in which people view things, but it's usually not what's at the core. So I'm looking forward to really delving into a lot of the themes and a lot of the lessons that your book, More Love, Less Conflict, will really teach us. One of the things I had read about originally was, let me back up, just the whole aspect of the political world right now. There are so many things that we know in society we should not talk about. For example, politics, religion, spirituality. There's many different aspects of that. When you work with your clients, how do you help them navigate some of those hot topics, if you will?
Well, I believe everybody really wants three things. They want care, understanding, and empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have in the nation is that everybody's, screaming at each other. Nobody's listening. Nobody's providing that understanding and empathy. So I became a therapist that focused on, I'll only see you for 2 sessions. And if I can't solve your problem in 2 sessions, then we're done.
Wow.
So I developed all these methods that really help couples to get to a place where they understand the other's feelings and they understand why they feel that way. And when people feel understood, everything changes. And that's what we need to do as a nation. That's what we need to do as couples. That's what we need to do with our friendships.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so when you were working with your clients, that's when you realized, aha, there's a book here that I can really not only touch my clients in my office, but I can touch the nation itself. Is that one of the reasons why this book was written?
Yeah, and I thought some of the methods for doing this were so ridiculously easy and so incredibly powerful that everybody should know about them because, I've been able to now reach 250 million people around the world.
That's amazing, John.
And partly because I know certain methods. And the same thing with Oprah. She's been able to reach a lot of people because when you listen to Oprah, you feel that she cares, that she understands. And people yearn for that so much that it allowed her to go from the bottom of society to the top of the world.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, why don't we talk on some of those theories or the methods that you talk about in your book?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of different ones. There's 50 in the More Love, Less Conflict book, but we can try out a couple and see what happens. I think that would give folks a better idea of their power and possibility. We'll start with something simple. It just involves completing a sentence. And the sentence will begin with, something I've noticed about you that I appreciate is. So I'll start.
Okay.
Something I've noticed about you, James, I appreciate is that you're an incredibly positive person, but you also are really responsible. Our back and forth communication was just really crisp, and you were like, I'm going to be calling you in 5 minutes. This is what you need to know. This is what we're doing. That you really have a ability to not just put this out there in an entertaining way, but behind the scenes, you're very effective in your communication.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you. And yes, that validation there, it really does something for myself as well. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And then you would say the same thing, not the same thing, but you would complete the sentence.
Sure. Well, let me try it. How about I try this? Jonathan, I have appreciated your conversation. How do you start it out?
Something I noticed that I appreciate is...
Something I noticed that I appreciate about you, Jonathan, is you're very methodical and very thoughtful in what you say. Many people, when they speak, they will speak right away to fill a sentence. But I've noticed with you that you're very methodical, you're very thoughtful. And in that, you can tell that what you say has more power than perhaps those who speak just to fill time.
Oh, thank you. That means something to me because it didn't used to be that way, but I use my own methods whenever possible.
Well, that's it. Clearly it works. That's great.
You want to do one more?
Yeah, this is fun. Yeah, let's do another one.
A different method.
Okay.
Now, what's great about methods is that they can be used to create instant intimacy. They can be used to overcome arguments. They can be used to create understanding. There's different tools for different situations, but they're all very simple. So here's a very simple method for getting to know each other quickly.
Okay.
We take turns saying the sentence, if you really knew me, you'd know blank. So I'll start off. If you really knew me, you'd know that I really get a little bit nervous before these interviews, but I also really enjoy them.
Okay, very good. If you really knew me, you would know that even though I'm extremely extroverted on camera or on the radio, I'm actually very introverted at home. I like to have my space and usually find isolation and solitude very refreshing for me.
Oh, interesting. I went to guess that. That's interesting.
I know, it is interesting, right? On the Myers-Briggs, I'm right in the center of introvert and extrovert. But it's really interesting because the normal side of me, when I'm off camera, off the air, it's very quiet.
Uh-huh. Well, we'll do one more of these. If you really knew me, you'd know that meditation and time alone is where I recharge and what is certainly the most important thing to me. And what I live for every day because I really love it.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Let me see. I'll do one more. Goodness, I'm putting you on the spot here. If you really knew me, you know that my morning is the most important to me. How I start my day is indicative of how my day goes. So therefore, I'm up at least an hour and a half before any appointments I have to really dedicate to my spirituality and my physical wellness. And then I use my intellect after that.
Great, great. Now, we did this for like 3 minutes, both those things, and we start to get to know each other a little bit more deeply.
Sure.
Just by doing that, which is very different than talking about the weather or politics. We're talking about something deeper, and there's different layers of communication. And I think people need to learn to go deeper and find that more love, which everybody is really wanting.
It's interesting when we did those, the last one in particular, it was the first one, I said about the introverted, extroverted. And then I felt even when I was starting to talk about the second one, I'm a very private person, just like the majority of us are. And so for me to say that second one, it kind of put me out of my comfort zone a little bit, but I felt safe. I didn't feel obviously being judged, and it wasn't anything that was earth shattering from what I said. But I do see how once people continue to do those types of techniques or methodologies or methods, that it can start to evolve into something a little more intimate as far as what you express or share about oneself. So I can see how that can easily transition to that.
Yeah, if you look at the word intimacy, the instructions for finding it are actually in the word intimacy. Into me see. And, it does involve a little bit of going out of a comfort zone, not a lot, but a little bit. And by stretching ourselves in that way, we stretch into intimacy, and then we stretch into deeper layers of love and understanding. But most of us have not been trained in how to do this deliberately and consistently. And therefore, what we do is we go on social media where we have 1,000 Facebook friends, but 1,000 Facebook friends does not equal one really good friend.
Exactly. Yeah, and everybody has an opinion, and usually those opinions are not the most kind opinions as well. I really like what you said as far as the consistency factor. We can say something very kind to somebody, but if we're not consistent with it, it really doesn't allow for a baseline for people to know how to really interact with us. We may be kind in general, but if we're not validating or not affirming in our communication, then often people just don't really know how to interact with us, and it keeps that relationship at a surface level.
Yeah, relationships require trust. It's like in the business world, money is a currency. In the relationship world, trust is a currency. But we haven't necessarily been taught how to create trust. Certainly blame doesn't do it.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what most of us, can fall back on. So these methods in the More Love, Less Conflict book help to foster deeper layers of trust. And when you have that, you don't argue, you understand, you get your needs met.
Well, it also goes back to what's the outcome you're looking for. I think so many times people focus on proving their point or proving their argument, but then what? So when you really can change the foundational piece of what you want the outcome to be, a lot of those responses will change.
Yeah, you can win the argument and lose the love, and that's not exactly winning.
Exactly. That's true. When there's a lot of books out there nowadays, why would this book be different?
Well, one of the reasons why I wrote the book is I've read those books and they have good theory. But when you're stressed, you need more than theory. You need some method that is so ridiculously simple that you can use it even when stressed.
Yes.
So let me give an example of another method that's very simple. My wife and I haven't had an argument in 10 years. And people say, well, how do you do that? Because we used to argue a lot. And whenever we're stressed and we're starting to go down a bad way, we can say the words red light. And red light means we have to take a 5-minute timeout.
Yes.
And let ourselves regroup and relax. And then we can go back and try to talk it out. Well, so when I'm stressed, I can say 2 words. I can say red light. And that has prevented us from having nasty arguments. Whereas people who don't have methods like that, they argue, they hurt each other, and then they have to deal with that. And it's unfortunate because something very simple could change their whole relationship.
And it goes back to that whole level of trust. You've built a level of intimacy where you can trust the other person. So if the other person does say red light, they're not doing it to get out of a conversation. They're doing it because they know they need to take that time to perhaps cool off for a minute and then they can come back and have an effective communication as opposed to an argument.
Exactly. Yeah.
One thing when this story was pitched to me, I was like, wow, there are 30 methods here. And I agree with you 100%. I've read a lot of these books as well. And they're great, like you said, in theory, but I was blown away when I realized how many methods you have, because they're practical, they're doable, they're easy, and they're very functional. So going back to what the question I even asked myself, I can help answer that too, is I really agree with you that you have a lot of great tools and techniques that any person can pick up and learn and implement right away. So that definitely does make it stand out on its own.
I tried to, I'm always trying to learn from the best. So I've been able to interview people like Oprah and the Dalai Lama and Jimmy Carter and Barack Obama and, all these people. Mm-hmm. I'm always asking them, what's your favorite method for communicating better? And so I've kind of stolen the best methods from the best minds on the planet.
Wow. Well, and it clearly shows. The people who read your book or perhaps implement these, what are some real life stories of how this has really helped them?
Well, people don't realize that if you can create communication miracles. Mm-hmm. A miracle to me is when a couple comes in, they're not looking at each other, they barely talk to each other, they're putting each other down. Yeah. And within 20 minutes, they're holding hands, they're back in love, because love is the best miracle. Mm-hmm. And it's like a magic potion that if you literally even say something as simple as the appreciations we did. Uh-huh. There's always something you can appreciate about somebody. Yes. And studies show that the single best way to improve a relationship is to give more appreciations. So this isn't rocket science, but it does help to have a very simple methods that's like fill in the blank. And I see it all the time because I'm only going to see couples for 2 sessions or less. And I'm trying to get them from the verge of divorce, usually, to back in love. And I'm just always amazed at how easy the human spirit wants to get back to love. Yes. If it knows the path to do that.
Yes. And it's so interesting, when you have a conflict with somebody and once you can affirm them or validate them or appreciate them, like you said, it's amazing literally how someone's face will just light up, how that level of aggression they may have felt really starts to fall away. And like you said, it's a very practical tools, but the appreciation part is very simple. You and I are just getting to know each other, but we were able to come up with different levels of appreciation in just a brief amount of time that we know each other. So yes, I really want my listeners to have a takeaway with that as well, that regardless of how well you know somebody, there's always something with which you can appreciate them.
Absolutely.
What is the number one thing that you would say that has really caused relationships to thrive? So we have the whole aspect of the appreciation part, but beyond that, I guess more the maintenance. How do you maintain, or how does a couple maintain that level of accountability or appreciation?
Well, it helps to feel grateful for your partner. Mm-hmm. And even silently, I once went to India because I'd heard this guru had a magical mantra. Oh. And I wanted to get that mantra. So I fly all the way to India to get this mantra. I asked the guru finally, what's the mantra? I flew 18,000 miles to get it. And he says, yes, my mantra is the most powerful mantra on earth. It will help you connect with your wife and your kids and everybody. And he said, come on in, I'll tell it to you. And I'm like really excited. And he says, whenever possible, repeat the following words. The mantra I give you are the words, thank you.
No.
I said, that's it? And he said, no, that's it is the mantra you have been using. And that makes you feel like you never have enough. My mantra is thank you, not that's it. That's it will take you nowhere.
That is really clever.
But you really have to say it from your heart.
Yes, you do.
And many times a day. And when you really feel grateful for someone, they feel it. Mm-hmm. And it helps to create a bond there as well.
Yes, because whatever you focus on is really what you see. For example, if I bring a coin as close to my eye as possible, that's all I'm going to see is the coin. But the problem is if we draw on those negative things or things we don't like or the habits that we don't like with the other person, that's really all we're going to see, and that's all we talk about. So exactly right.
Yeah, and our minds tend to do that. Our minds are like like Velcro for negativity and Teflon for positivity. So we need these little methods that guide us in a direction that's going to lead to more love and less conflict. Otherwise, our minds can kind of take over.
Exactly. Well, Jonathan Robinson, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on my show. I can't believe that our time is already up. If my listeners would like to find out more information about you and to purchase this awesome book, More Love, Less Conflict, a communication playbook for couples, where would they find this information online?
Well, they can go to my website, morelovelessconflict.com, and there's even 12 questions they can download there called the 12 Questions for Instant Intimacy, and that's a free download. So that's the best place to find out a little bit more.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I do know that the book, More Love, Less Conflict, a communication playbook for couples, is also available on Amazon. So if my listeners aren't able to purchase it there or even on your website, simply go to my store at jamesmillerlifeology.com, and I will have this book, once again, More Love, Less Conflict, a communication playbook for couples, in my store. Simply click on that link and it'll take you directly to Amazon. Jonathan, thank you so much for being a guest today. I really do appreciate all of your wisdom. So thank you once again.
It's really been fun. Thank you, James.
I also want to thank you, the listener, for tuning in today. Please subscribe to this radio show through whichever portal you joined with us today, or please go to my website where you may sign up for my free newsletter, watch my YouTube episodes, read the articles I've written specifically for you, or you may enroll in the Lifeology Academy where you can take self-directed courses which will help you simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. If you'd like to personally work with me, be a guest on, or advertise on this show, simply visit jamesmillerlifeology.com. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms under the name James Miller Lifeology, except for Twitter, which is James M. Lifeology. Once again, thank